Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. Glad you guys can join. As we see, we're going to talk particularly the Knicks tonight. We see the Knicks are 2-0 in preseason. They were out in Abu Dhabi, and they will be on their way back to New York soon. So, we're heavy into the economics. We're talking about the moves for the roster. And we see no moves have been made in 2 games. It wasn't practical for any moves to be made while they were in Abu Dhabi. Imagine cutting a player in a foreign country and he has to ride back a day to think about it. So that's not something we would have seen in Abu Dhabi. But I think our first cuts will happen shortly. Um, I think the Knicks roster needs to be pared down. You don't want to have 21 players all the way up to the last day and then you pick what you want. You want to whittle the list down. You want to give more minutes to those who actually have a chance to make it. So no moves have been made, but shortly we could see a few. Where do we see these players right now? Well, let's look at our camp roster. Um, So on our left side, we put the safe guaranteed players, and on the right we put the not safe. So then they don't have guaranteed roster spots. These are players with the 2 spots left on the NBA roster. They are trying to get one of those 2 spots. There are some two-way contracts we see in the middle. We see they filled up those three two-way contracts, but that's very changeable. Those players that can change at any moment. Um, but in these first 2 games, what have you seen? We have seen. I really wouldn't put too much stock into these Abu Dhabi games or even in the preseason, especially the Abu Dhabi games because we played the 76ers and the 76ers, 4 of the 5 starters were out. So basically, you're playing a G League roster, an NBA roster versus a G League roster. And so I wouldn't take too many insights on that. I think the coach is probably looking for certain things, um, but don't don't look too far into it. Let me see. So, we're going to talk about the title and is all this drama for Landry Shamet. Basically, the Knicks have 2 roster spots left. At the same time, they're expected to sign uh, Landry Shamet and also expected to sign Malcolm Brogdan. So if they have those 2 players, uh, where does everybody else go? In one way, they were going to try to ease this, and the thought is the way they were going to ease this is the Knicks are going to trade a younger player, um, and then give one of their spots to have enough money for Landry Shamet and Malcolm Brogdon. And by by giving up one player, you have still enough room to sign Diawara to a rookie contract. But the thought is, are we really trading a young guy with potential for Landry Shamet? And I've kind of pushed back on that because I don't think Landry Shamet is worth one of these young guys. I know he's skilled. I know a lot of people are thinking, "Hey, we're all in. We're going to we're going for a championship. You just need to put the best player on the roster." However, you need to think about more than this year. And Landry Shamet and Malcolm Brogdon seem like 1 year players. Like players who are going to play for the Knicks for this team this year, but it's not guaranteed they're going to come back next year. So, when it comes to am I going to trade Tyler Kolek for a guy who's going to help us this year, um, you have to really think about that. Not only that, the way the roster is constructed currently, you have to really think about it because there doesn't seem to be a lot of time for Landry Shamet. So are you going to give up Tyler Kolek or Procom Dadier for someone who's situational, someone who may not play every game? So my prevailing thought is maybe it's not about Landry Shamet. Maybe it's not about Malcolm Brogdan. Perhaps this is something in the works that's beyond them. Like this is something in the works, a trade they want to get done, and they need assets to make it happen. Um, I know a lot of people's minds have gone to Mitch. Mitch is good play the first two games. Had people thinking, hey, he's our guy, he's our starter. Um, he has solidified himself in the starting lineup. If you're going to have Mitchell Robinson as the starter, and he's going to play starter minutes, if you're the Knicks, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Pay Mitch. If he's going to play 28 minutes a game and you're confident that he's going to play 28 minutes a game and he's going to be the starter, pay Mitch. I have nothing against Mitchell Robinson. And I think a lot of people, they see me on the Nick of Time show and I'm talking about inevitability and they say, hey, Fritz just hates Mitchell Robinson. And that's just not the case. I just don't think Mitchell Robinson playing minimal minutes should be on this roster. Not at the amount of money he probably thinks he's worth, that he's probably worth in the playoffs. But if you can't play him throughout the season, if you have to wrap him in bubble wrap, maybe you should move on. Maybe you should move on if you have to wrap him up in bubble wrap until the playoffs. But if you can play him through the season and play him big minutes, by all means, pay him. Give him $20 million a year. If you're confident in that. But if you fail, like, believe me, Knicks fans will be all over you because you should have looked at history. But if you're right, wow, that would be amazing. If you're wrong, you're wrong. So, I'm not going to really talk too much about Mitch, but say that he has looked really good. And we were doing a lot of things that we should have been doing the last few years. Due to coaching, we didn't do those things. We didn't look for Mitch. He is far more valuable than he has been used in last year. We know players like Clint Capella, DeAndre Jordan, big scorers. You can't really say they're much better than Mitch, but it's just how they're used. And I think Mitch has really shown people what he can do, and very much may have raised his value to not only offensive rebounder, but to not strong finisher, but actually usable on offense. So the Knicks have to really, if they're going to fight him on how much they're going to pay him, they need to make a decision because we can't go through the season with Mitch in limbo. Mitch could have a great season, and then in the next summer, the Knicks say, "Hey, I got your $20 million for you," and Mitch could say, "Hey, I'm gonna see what these other guys have for me." That's the problem you don't want, is you may have a number that you're comfortable giving, and then someone like Oklahoma City or another team say, "Hey, Mitch is the perfect guy," or "I have too much money, let me screw the Knicks." That's what you don't want. So that's why you make a decision now. Even though practical wisdom means, hey, we can go through the years and just figure it out later. Sometimes you can't because you don't know what everybody else is gonna do. You don't know what Mitch is gonna do. You don't know what these other teams are willing to do to mess you up. But when it comes to these last roster spots, I'm inclined to think that the Knicks are going to do a consolidation trade. So consolidation trade is different than what we've been hearing from these other channels. So other channels are saying, "Hey, we can trade Tyler Kolek, and Tyler Kolek, um, you know, we can have 14 players until right before the playoffs, and we can add someone to the roster. But if we trade Pacome, we can we can trade Pacome and maybe get a few seconds, or maybe a protected first, and if we trade him, we can use that 15th roster spot a lot earlier." But my problem is, what does this do to the future? If Brogdan isn't sticking around for multiple years, and Landry Shamet isn't sticking around for multiple years, you're not actually building anything. Um, to trade Pacome means you have no confidence that he is going to be ready by next year. That 1 year is not enough for him to be ready for a rotation role. Trading Tyler Kolek, um, I know he hasn't looked like he can run a team by himself. Um, if Brunson twisted his ankle and was out for an extended period of time, do you think Kolek can run this team? Perhaps that confidence from the team isn't there. Um, so you may have him as someone you can lose. What I think the Knicks are doing is that they're trading multiple players, and that they want a useful player on this roster. What do we seem to lack on this roster? A wing, a tall wing. We signed a tall wing to our um, two-way spot, but a tall wing who can come off the bench, or a tall wing, maybe he starts. But a tall wing isn't on this roster because Pacome isn't that guy right now. So if I'm going to trade Pacome, I'm going to make sure I get a tall wing, or at least average size wing. Someone's not 6'2", 6'4", and it may take somebody isn't going to give that for Pacome, but maybe they give that guy for Pacome and Kolek, or perhaps they give that guy for Pacome, a first and another player, or perhaps the Knicks have a way of getting that tall wing while dealing Mitch and getting a replacement. One interesting thing we've heard, which I'm going to bring up here, is this quote. Actually, I didn't bring it up, but actually, this quote was actually actually, 1 second. Actually, the quote was about Trey Jameson. Uh, in the first game, we saw Mitch. Mitch had a huge game, put up huge stats in only 18 minutes. And defensive player of the game, Mike Brown, gave Trey Jameson, talking about his verticalities on 2 rebounds. He talked about 2 rebounds over Mitch. Talked about how he's impressive. If you're going to have Mitch and you still have Huck Porty behind him, why are you bigging up Trey Jameson? I mean, it could be just a positive comment about somebody he wants to get an NBA job, but you gave a two-way spot to Trey Jameson, a guy I don't think it's very. I don't think we're at risk for someone taking their hand in Westchester and taking him. So why aren't you protecting another player? But you're protecting Trey Jameson. Do I think Trey Jameson's going to be our starting center? No. But I do think if the Knicks had somebody else in that starting lineup, Trey Jameson could come off the bench. Jameson could play 15 minutes a game. I know he probably doesn't meet old New York standards or tip standards of what he would want in the center, but what Mike Brown wants in the center, he definitely fits the bill. He's going to do what needs to be done. So I would take a look out. I think some people are just not only just enamored with Knicks with Mitchell Robinson, but we like Mitchell Robinson. He's a very likable guy. He's been our guy, and then I think some people don't think the business. I think they look at like just personal loyalty and think, hey, you have to stick with your guy. But we know Leon's about his business. He traded Julius Randle when he's given us some of the best years of his career. And Randle at the time didn't look like he was declining. He could see something that the fans didn't want to do. I know me and Lee kind of went back and forth on it, but a lot of fans, New York fans, thought Julius Randle was better than Karl Anthony Towns when we traded for him. And it was more about public sentiment. Like, public sentiment is, what have you done for me lately? How do people like you? And they like Julius Randle more than they like Karl Anthony Towns. Because Karl Anthony Towns was he was at the point where he was kind of he was in the point where he was no longer the number one guy on his team. So why would I trade a guy for a guy like that at more money when Julius Randle has given you all this? He's taken us to this point. I really wouldn't look into loyalty too much with the New York Knicks with Leon Rose, because he has shown he will make a move when he has to. I'm just gonna look in the chat real quick and see what's going on in the chat. I see a very active chat. I really thank everybody. It really helps the channel. Please like and subscribe if you really love the content. I'd like to shout out Nick P, Brandon Williams, Randu, of course, always, Parrish Duggar. Who mentioned that NBA is the aprons era. You got to let go of assets without compensation to keep the money free. All right. Prezi the Boss, thank you. And let me see. CC was talking about Donovan Williams. What is that signing about? I'm going to do a little bit more research and get back to you on that. I'm going to go live a lot more than once a week, but I do have to be more regular. I'm definitely going to pick a day where we have a set time where you can expect a show. I think that's going to be Fridays, but I will definitely get back to you guys. Praise the Boss has an interesting comment. We keep talking like Dadier is going the second coming of KG. He is a few years away. Do we want a chip or do we want a chip? If Yabu, JC, Shamet, and Brogdan and Matthew gets us there, let's do it. Okay. Yeah, straight to point. Coach TR, no disrespect, but let's see Hart move before Mitch. And that's something I probably would like to talk about is I don't think you want to trade Hart right now unless a team just loves Hart and really wants Hart. I think he has decent value, but the thing about Hart this summer, his value will be higher. So this summer, he's going to be an expiring contract. He's going to be also a positive. I think you could say he's a positive player. So I think his best values this summer, not now. I don't think you don't need to save on the cap this year. You need to save on the cap next year. Um, I think that using Hart next summer when we have more picks available to trade, we can find ourselves with a very nice piece. We can find ourselves with a borderline all-star, or if we're willing to trade other pieces, an actual all-star. So I don't think you kind of give up Hart now to get a usable piece when this summer he can actually bring you back something significant. I just unless someone loves him right now and is willing to do something right now, a big trade, you have to wait till the summer because I think somebody's going to give something more than decent if you pair him with some picks. Um, also, yeah, we have seen Garrison Matthews probably look better than Landry Shamet, and they said it was a competition. They came in saying these two players are competing against each other. And if you look at it now, Landry Shamet needs to be nervous. Because it doesn't look like we're looking for Landry Shamet to be this big minute taker. He is coming in as a shooter. And as a shooter, Garrison Matthew not only has brought better percentages in the last few years, Garrison Matthews brings more height. In a team that's deficient of height, that's big. So Landry Shamet needs to, I think he's worried. He should be worried. Because he could be in G League and the Knicks just make him the backup plan instead of the main guy. I really think the Knicks are really going to have a team in Westchester that's ready to go if something bad happens up at the NBA level. They have a lot of these players on non-guaranteed contracts. So in a case, let's see if they sign Garrison Matthews. And then Garrison Matthews is great, and then in January, he has an injury. They can cut Garrison Matthews, and they can bring up Landry Shamet. I think they're going to have a lot more versatility in how they use this roster. The Knicks are very creative in how they're using Westchester. Yes, so we have heard there are some players around the league right now. There are some questions about certain players around the league that they may become available. And that could be a reason why some of these players are being talked about in trades. We've heard Tari Eason did not come to an agreement with the Houston Rockets so far, and they have until the 20th to do so. Tari Eason is a great defender. They haven't been really using him as a starter, Um, they paid other guys on their team, but Tari Eason does not want to be in a restricted battle with his team next summer. We've seen the restricted free agency with Kuminga be a fight, Cam Thomas be a fight, um, with Grimes be a fight. That's a fight Houston does not want Tari Eason. Because Tari Eason, if he hits for restricted free agency, somebody's going to offer him a max contract. So if you're betting that someone isn't going to sign him to a max contract, that's something they're going to lose. They're going to lose, or they're going to sign him for way more than they want to. If they're serious about keeping him, they would do it now. And if they're not doing it now, people have to think, okay, is the next thing a trade to get things back? I don't think Tari Eason would be cheap in the slightest. When I think about Tari Eason, I probably think of the Knicks. In the scenario in my head, it would be the Knicks trading Bacom Dadier for a first round pick, and then giving Houston Washington's pick and this other first round pick, and giving up Deuce. That's how much I think it would take to get Tari Eason. Like, and then it may not be enough. Maybe you're talking about swaps. Like, he has some serious value. At the same time, when you're bringing in Tari Eason, you're not bargaining on his next contract. You're signing him up for pretty much a max contract. Are there any other players who fit in that role? Jaden Ivey fits in that role of hasn't gotten an extension yet. Um, but do you really want to get in a restricted free agency with him next year while you're trying to pay Jalen Duran his money? Um, that's something to consider. Who else is in that category? Um, Perhaps now, probably not this moment, but now Kuminga, since he signed his contract, comes into view in January. So maybe in January you hold your assets. Um, you know, you hold your assets for January, but you need some picks. So you may need, hey, I'm gonna get that pick. I'm gonna try to get a conditional pick for Dadier now, and then I'm gonna use it in January. Um, I'm gonna use it in January to try to get Kuminga, or I'm gonna get these couple picks, and in January I'm gonna try to get Jaden Ivey. It's like these are the type of things the Knicks can do, um, but they only have that tradable asset of the Wizards' conditional first, which will likely be 2 seconds. But you need more. So maybe Bacom becomes that other pick that can make something happen this year. Um, so we're going to look forward to it. I really think it's going to be a consolidation. I really don't think it's going to be one for one. If it or one for none. If it is one for none, I think it has to be a first round pick. Like the Knicks can't. It has to be. If it's one for none, it's a first round pick that they can use this winter or use next summer. Just want to shout out everybody. President Boss says by trading both Dottie and Kolek, we can sign Shannon, Brogdan, and Matthews, and have the ability to convert McCullough to a regular contract. This will open a two-way to sign Pate or Williams. That is possible. That's one of the many. That is one of the many things the Knicks can do. I just have an issue with how it's kind of portrayed on a lot of these channels as, oh, the Knicks are just throwing one of these kids away because they're not valued, and we're just gonna get Landry because Landry is just flat out better, or we're gonna trade Pacome because he's not valued, and one of these guys is better than him, and to make that happen, we're gonna throw him away. So one of these guys, there's more to it. Like I don't think it's just that. I think it's setting up the next move. It's the next move or setting up the next move. So all this drama for Landry Shamet, no. I think it's deeper than that. Hopefully the next couple of games I will go live. Um, Maybe do a live stream. Do a live stream um on what is it called? Do a live stream and maybe bring some people on and just talk about the Knicks. So hopefully, listen out for that. I just wanted to come talk about this one subject. I'm really looking forward to the next few games. I really think there's going to be some movement in the next couple days. If I had to guess of who is going to be the first cut, I think it'll be Alex Len. I think Alex Len will be the first cut, but we will see. Alex Len is mine. If you have another guess of who you think is going to be the first cut, you could definitely put it in the chat. So I would like to thank everybody for joining the NBA Economy Show. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Um, yeah, we're you know we're making more things happen. I'm going to try to bring on a second show, a more lighthearted show, because I know we talk about the finances, uh, but not a live stream, but it's just something more fun for the fans to just appeal to a wider audience. I think we could talk about a lot more than the Knicks. Like, there's a lot more going around the league. Um, I think I think there's a lot to talk about in the NBA and even the WNBA. Some of that is becoming a lot more interesting. We're getting a few answers in the chat. Justo11 says Len going for sure. JW says Matt Ryan will be cut. That's another name, because it's clearly Matthews and Landry Shamet neck and neck, and Matt Ryan's name really hasn't been to the forefront. Also, Matt Ryan spent time on the Knicks last year and did absolutely nothing. So if anybody who have they seen the most of is Matt Ryan. Randu 1973 says I think it's going to be Matt Ryan. Prezi the Boss, Alex Len and Matt Ryan easily. Justo says I thought Matt Ryan was the accountant. So yeah, so Matt Ryan's name is kind of coming to the forefront, followed by Alex Len. We'll see it in the next few days. As the moves happen, I will come live on stream and talk about the moves and what they mean down the road. Thank you everybody for joining me. Please join me on the Nick of Time show post game. So I will be on the Nick of Time show post game. Please find that. Please like, subscribe on that. Yeah, a lot of good things happen over on that channel. A lot of good things happening. Also trying to bring on some sponsors. So sponsors will really help out because financially, to do things it costs money, and hopefully get some help in that regard. All right. Thank you and have a good night, and we'll see you next time.